We live in an era where data promises clarity. Every financial move, every dollar in or out can be tracked, analyzed, and visualized. We have apps for budgeting, investing, debt, and even subscriptions. The promise is simple: with more information, we make better decisions, right? But what if this relentless pursuit of financial transparency, this endless stream of data, is actually making us less financially savvy, more anxious, and ultimately less wealthy? It's a paradox that touches nearly every aspect of modern life. But nowhere is it more insidious than in our personal finances. We open an app, greeted by a vibrant dashboard: net worth, spending categories, investment performance, credit score, debt ratios. Each number, a tiny beacon of information. The underlying assumption is that with greater visibility comes greater control. If we just track enough, measure enough, optimize enough, our financial challenges will simply dissolve. Yet, for many, the opposite happens. Instead of empowerment, they experience a paralyzing anxiety. This isn't just a matter of poor math, it's a profound psychological trap. The human brain, evolved for simpler environments, struggles immensely with the sheer volume and complexity of modern financial data. Psychologists call it information overload or analysis paralysis. We convince ourselves that we need to understand every nuance, every market fluctuation, every line item in our budget. We spend hours comparing high-yield savings accounts that differ by a mere 0.1%, or agonizing over investment fund expense ratios that amount to pennies annually. This is not rational optimization. It's a form of obsessive rumination disguised as diligence. We mistake the act of gathering information for the act of making progress. The cognitive load becomes immense, leading not to better decisions, but to indecision, procrastination, or worse, making impulsive choices just to escape the mental discomfort. Our desire for perfect information, for absolute certainty, often prevents us from taking the simple, unsexy steps that actually build wealth. Consider the contrasting approaches often observed. On one side, those who painstakingly track every single transaction, meticulously categorizing every coffee and subscription. Their financial picture is a mosaic of granular detail. On the other, individuals who manage their finances with an almost startling simplicity, a few automated transfers, a rough mental budget, and occasional check-ins. Who do you think, on average, tends to accumulate more wealth and experience less financial stress? Research by scholars like Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko, through their exhaustive studies of millionaires next door, consistently shows that profound financial sophistication isn't a prerequisite for wealth. In fact, many high-net-worth individuals maintain remarkably simple financial structures. They focus on a few core principles: earning more than they spend, saving consistently, investing broadly, and avoiding unnecessary debt. They are not necessarily maximizing every single opportunity. Rather, they are satisficing. The term, coined by Nobel laureate Herbert A. Simon, describes decision-making that aims for a good enough outcome rather than the absolute best. They choose the good enough index fund, the good enough savings rate, and they stick with it. The psychological reality is that for most people, the cognitive burden of hyper-tracking and hyper-optimizing often leads to exhaustion and abandonment. A study published in the Journal of Consumer Research found that presenting consumers with too many options, even beneficial ones, significantly decreased their likelihood of making a choice at all. This choice overload effect applies directly to financial data. When every data point demands attention, the most impactful data points get lost in the noise. We become so focused on the flickering red and green numbers on our screen that we lose sight of the steady, unwavering arc of long-term compounding, which operates quietly, invisibly, behind the scenes. This isn't to say data is useless, but its utility diminishes rapidly beyond a critical point, often becoming a distraction rather than a guide. What does this over-reliance on data look like in our everyday financial behavior? It's the endless refreshing of investment portfolios, the constant checking of credit scores, the multiple budgeting apps, each promising perfect insight. It's the late-night hours spent down rabbit holes of comparing obscure financial products, only to feel more confused than when you started. This behavior, born from a desire for control, paradoxically strips us of it, turning us into passive observers of our own data, rather than active participants in our financial journey. The true cost isn't just mental energy or lost time. It's the opportunity cost. It's the years of compounding growth missed because you were too busy trying to time the market perfectly, or the extra savings you could have accumulated if you weren't caught in the paralysis of choosing the perfect high-yield account. It's the increased stress levels, the disrupted sleep, the strained relationships from constantly worrying about financial minutiae that ultimately have negligible impact. These intangible costs erode financial well-being, which at its core should bring peace, not perpetual agitation. The mathematical reality of wealth building is surprisingly simple. A consistent, automated contribution to a broad market index fund, left untouched for decades, almost inevitably outperforms the most elaborate day trading or micro-budgeting strategies. Imagine two individuals, one who contributes $500 every month to an SP 500 index fund, checks their balance perhaps twice a year, and lives their life. The other dedicates hours weekly to analyzing charts, reading financial news, and tweaking their budget down to the last dollar, only to make inconsistent contributions due to decision fatigue. Over 20 or 30 years, the steady, boring approach often yields significantly better results, not just financially, but in terms of overall life satisfaction. Compounding favors consistency in time, not hyper-optimization. The antidote to data paralysis is almost embarrassingly simple: automate, simplify, and abstract. Instead of tracking every penny, set up automatic transfers to savings and investments the moment your paycheck hits. Instead of agonizing over every investment choice, pick one or two low-cost, diversified index funds and stick with them. Instead of monitoring your net worth daily, review it quarterly or annually. This unsexy alternative frees up mental bandwidth, shifting focus from data minutia to wealth creation strategy. It's about building robust financial habits that require minimal ongoing cognitive effort, allowing compounding to work its magic silently in the background, rather than demanding your constant anxious attention. This brings us to a fundamental redefinition of what wealth truly means. It's not about the size of your portfolio on a screen today, or the perfectly balanced pie chart of your asset allocation. True wealth is optionality. It is the freedom to make choices, to pursue passions, to say no to opportunities that don't serve you, and yes to those that do. It is the control you have over your time and your life's direction. This control doesn't come from constant data vigilance. It comes from strong, automated financial systems that generate peace of mind and a cushion for life's uncertainties. It's the quiet confidence derived from knowing you have a plan that works, rather than the performative display of detailed spreadsheets or the illusion of perfect optimization. Financial wealth, in its truest form, is invisible because it resides in the peace of mind and freedom it affords, not in external validation or endless data streams. So, if you feel overwhelmed by the sheer volume of financial data in your life, take one simple action in the next 24 to 48 hours. Choose one financial app or dashboard that currently consumes too much of your mental energy. Instead of trying to optimize it further, identify just one core metric that truly matters to your largest financial goal, and then intentionally hide or ignore all the other distracting metrics for the next week. Or even simpler, automate just one small, consistent transfer to a savings or investment account, and resist the urge to check it daily. Allow yourself to experience the quiet power of simplification.